What's going on, guys? All right, so I've got a Dodge Challenger here. I think it's pretty new. I think it's 2017. 392 Hemi. Nice car, sounds really good. We're wrapping this in Avery gloss metallic gray with stripes. All right, so you can see I kind of have a template laid on top so far. That's going to be the spacing for the stripe. I have also coming down the rear window just to keep it in order, basically in the shape that I need it to be in. And I also have it running down the hood because I started it down the hood just to kind of see how everything flows. I do have to wrap the hood still. We're not wrapping the roof. We're going to leave it gloss black and do satin black stripes on top of the gloss black with a red outline. The stripes are getting a red outline on each side as well. So once they're done, it's going to look pretty cool. It's going to have a nice transition to it. So as you can see, I've taken the car apart. Door handle off, window trim off, mirror off, emblem off, and I've taken the front bumper off. Spoilers off, and the rear bumper is just loose. Take off as many things as you can. It helps with installation. If you can do it, I highly recommend it, especially with this front bumper. It has this huge lip across the bottom. It's going to be a really big pain to wrap it with that front lip on there. So another thing I want to point out here is I've also put knifeless tape on the inside of the door. All right, so we've done knifeless tape on the inside of the door to make sure we get a nice even straight line without cutting onto the paint. So super easy. Get yourself set up. Always get yourself set up. So when it comes to prep, I've already prepped the surface with isopropyl alcohol, wiped the whole thing down. We've washed the car very thoroughly, and we've blown away all the contaminants using a compressor just now, and we're pretty much ready to lay the film. So I don't have all the film here right now. I'm waiting for Grimco, who's been taking forever to get this film. It's been like a week. It's supposed to come today. Anyways, I haven't heard back from them yet, so I might get a phone call and have to pick it up during this, but we're going to bang out this side right now because I have enough film for this side. I have 6 yards. All right, so I got 18 feet. Let me find the edge of the tape. There's no edge of the tape, so I'm just going to rip the tape. So I'll do a bunch of videos on this, guys. I know you want to see it. It's got a lot of interesting parts to it. Door handles come off super easy. A lot of this stuff came off super easy. The bumper was a bit of a pain. It's a bit tedious. The rear bumper is a bit of a pain also. It has these clips on it that are extremely strong and brittle. They're push pin clips, and they're really hard to get off without breaking them. Luckily, I always keep a few extras here because it does happen. So anyways, keep that in mind. Also with the front bumper, there's 2 screws way up in the top fender that meet the bumper. One of them's really hard to get at. The other one's pretty easy. You get it through the top of underneath the hood. All right, so let's get this laid out, and we'll get our section cut out because we're going to wrap the door separately so that we can wrap inside the door a little bit. Even though it's black, I don't cheat. We're always going to wrap inside the door a little bit. We want to make sure that nothing is visible from the exterior. All right. So simply, to be able to do this, we're going to come past about 3 or 4 inches past the rear quarter. All right. Making sure that we have enough film. I'm going to grab my magnet, stick it on. So as you can see right here, we're past, there's the rear quarter, there's the bumper, we're past probably about 4 or 5 inches. All right. Give yourself a little bit of room for play in the material because you're going to need it. There's no point in cutting yourself a few inches short if there's a chance of messing it up. All right. So let's get this rolled out. We have to roll it out, as you notice. We're going to roll it out past the door because the door actually comes further than the pillar. So we have to roll it out past the door. Don't keep your eye on that. Usually this comes past the door. In this case, this is not the case. So also on this car, there is no side skirt to wrap, which is pretty nice. So we don't have to worry about too much material in our horizontal position. So top to bottom, we'll have plenty to cover the roof and the door and everything else, and not worry about the side skirt, cutting the side skirt out separately. All right, so basically this is just cutting out the door and the rear quarter from each other. Not too difficult. So I'm going to keep my eye behind the film. Let me make sure I'm actually recording here. Okay. So keep my eye behind the film. I'm going to grab my backing cutter, which is the bodyguard knife that I use from Yellow Tools. It's my favorite thing ever. And I'm going to cut, again, leave about 5 inches, all right? 4 or 5 inches. Avery has markings on the back, so I can start. And what I want to do is anchor this before it falls. I let it fall a little bit, that way I can give myself a little bit of play. And then we're gonna come down the rest of the way, all right? Perfect. So now that I have done that, I'll take my film and just pack it up. I have these fancy, there they are. Let's use this. So I have vinyl wrap clips, all right? These are actually really handy. These are from Yellow Tools as well. Take it, stick it around the film, boom, it holds it. You don't have to worry about taping it and then taking the tape off and then taping it again, taking the tape off. So it's much easier when you have them handy. I thought I had the box closer by, someone moved it. All right, so what we want to do is position the top. So obviously we need to come up above this line. So we need to come up a little bit higher. And so we will. We can position, I left a magnet on the front so we can kind of swivel the film as opposed to positioning the whole thing all at once. And I'll just anchor it at the top, all right? So what I want to do is I want to come back just past that edge, all right? So I can still see the tape where I've masked on the roof. I've masked the roof just because I'm going to be cutting freehand and I don't want to cut into the paint in case I slip, all right? Super important. What we want to do here is we want to find our line, right? So here's our line. Our door is closed right now, or sorry, open. I'm going to pop it closed because it was throwing it off a little bit. Let's find the line. There we go. So look, when I pull right here, we found a good line right across the car. Makes life a lot easier if you do this, guys, because you're not gonna have your film be all wonky. It's just, you got a nice line, body line runs right across the car. And you can kind of create that yourself. If the car is an odd shape, you can just keep it taut on each end and it should find itself a nice line. Whether it's higher or lower, totally depends on the car, all right? All right, so let's get the door cut out. I've got a couple extra magnets to hold it while I do that. So the door is going to have to, one thing I want to show you here is actually, before we cut the door out, I'm just going to fold this down, it's cool, is that the pillar and the door nearly meet. Actually, the pillar comes a little bit lower than the door in this situation. So what we want to do is we're going to cut the film across a little bit higher. So here's where the pillar ends. I'm going to cut the film this way. You might think that I'm cutting the pillar short. No, because what I'm going to do right now, or when I do lay it, is I'm going to contour it down this way. So just so you don't ask yourself this question why I'm doing it, while I'm doing it, I'm explaining it right now for you. All right. So let's find that pillar line where it meets the fender, which is right there. And again, we're coming higher. So I know that when it comes to finding the door's edge right here, you can use a crayon or a piece of chalk to mark this, comes off really easily. So I know when I find this right here, I can pretty much cut it right down on this line because I have a few extra inches on that side and I have a few extra inches on that side, and I can position the door this way and I can position this quarter panel this way a little bit if I need to, give it an inch or two. So that's what you want to do. So we want to make sure we find the top very first, super important. Also, I'm going to double check, make sure I'm far enough forward. Cool, I got like 5-6 inches there, and we're good. So I'm going to grab another magnet, hold it. And we're going to come all the way down. I'm going to try to find the line, lost it, there we go. Voila. We're going to do one of the two here. I'm going to wrap the door first. I'm just going to position the whole quarter panel back since this is easy to do. Let's loosen it up here. Cool. Let's get it back a little bit more. Perfect. All right, so we're good. Keep in mind that we don't want to rest the magnets for too long on areas of the vehicle where the vinyl is actually going to be laid down on, because it will leave impressions in the film. Those I'm not certain if you can heat them out prior to installation. So if we remove the backing paper, we might be able to get rid of them. They might go away. I haven't tried that yet. So just for safe measure, I'm going to grab the compressor again because I've cut the backing paper and it likes to dust. So by dusting, I mean that the paper can fray, all right? And frayed paper means that you're going to have particles and contaminants underneath the wrap. So just give it one of those, all right? Super important. I can't stress that enough to you about doing that, because if you don't, you're gonna end up in trouble when it comes to stick that there, actually. There we go. You're gonna end up in trouble when it comes to removing the backing paper, because it's gonna draw a lot of static in, and then all of a sudden you're gonna have all of these little particles of paper. Super easy. This is the door, guys. It's gonna take me probably like 10 minutes. So just to get started here, take it, I'm gonna anchor it to the window. This is Avery, so it's super easy, very forgiving to use. Same technique as I always do. I always try to roll the film and try to keep my line. Stick a magnet on the other side and get the rest off. Awesome. Now what do? We glass it out. Find a body line. Perfect. There's our body line. Fell down a little bit here, no big deal. I'm going to stick a magnet there and bring it a little bit more across this way. I like to do it like this, and I'll tell you why in 2 seconds. You might think that I'm adding stretch. I'm adding like a 1% stretch to it. It's not much, guys. So what happens here now is that once I loosen it, the bottom will start to hug in. Look, see this? So once, all I have to do for this section here is kind of glass it out a little bit, and then the rest will just taper itself right in. I have no wrinkles to worry about on the bottom, all right? Super easy, super important to do it that way. I mean, it's not the end of the world if you don't, but it just makes it a lot easier. All right? And you'll see what I mean. So I'm just gonna hold the film. You can glass the entire panel. Like I said, I never recommend it, as I showed you in one of my most recent videos about air getting trapped and why that happens, because your edges get tight and they start to settle. So the film will start to trap air. So as you can see, if I just anchor this a little bit there, so let's fix that out there. See, as I stuck the vinyl there, it smoothed out this whole area right here. All I gotta do right now for here is same deal, guys. But I just want to make sure I got this little wrinkle out right there, and voila. So now we have glass, but we have tons of air release, all right? Look at all the air release we have. Now we can rock and roll. Making sure that you're overlapping each stroke so that you're not missing anything. As I get down to a certain point, I'll release it. You'll see what I mean by that. Sometimes I don't have to, but sometimes I do. Like I said, if this was chrome or anything else, I would be doing it exactly the same way, guys. There's no difference. So you can see I'm getting a bit of wrinkles over there. No big deal, goes away. But I avoided a ton of wrinkles by glassing out the film the way I did. So we're almost to the bottom. Got a bit too much film. I could have cut off some, but just trying to save some time here. I'll do the quarter panel and the door in 2 separate videos. Always making sure that you're applying enough pressure down here. A lot of people tend to miss putting enough pressure at the bottom of the door, because your body's in a weird position, all right? So if you get down here like this, then you can actually see better and apply pressure better. Cool. So all I'm gonna do is go under the edge a little bit, just enough like that, and then we're gonna cut on the upside of that edge when I'm done. I gotta do the top section still. So we're gonna smooth out the crease around the door right there. Let's finish off the top. Again, holding it up. So now that I've let the film settle, it's starting to tack itself down. So we need to release it and just kind of hold it up a little bit. Makes things easier. You see that I'm always following a line. I'm never getting ahead of myself. Super important when it comes to squeegeeing. Even though I'm getting higher over here, I have this nice line that runs, it sweeps itself right in, all right? Cool, so for here, we're gonna have to release it. My blade here somewhere. Pull this back a little bit, and I wanna get the film off the paint. So there, I can just lay into this little recess really nicely. This is where the window trim goes. Could use a glove, but I'm not, because I don't usually use gloves. But if you're not comfortable, use a glove. It'll help your finger glide a little bit easier. Oh, just pull that back a little bit. There we go. Let's put my blade away before I cut myself. So again, I'm going to release the tension, making sure that we're going all the way up. Cool, so I have a nice edge to cut on, guys, which I'm cutting on that right on that top edge. There's no cutting on the paint. As for the door handle area, I've almost forgotten where I need to start this, so I'm gonna go have a peek at the other side before I do any cut, before I start laying the film in there. But what I'm gonna do right now is just trim off the exterior. And you should lay this section first. It's a good rule of thumb, just in case you get a wrinkle in here, before you cut all this, because then you can come back and you can fix it all up, all right? So let me just do it that way. I'm just gonna check to see where I need to lay it into. Perfect, it's not bad at all. And this won't even require much heat, so I'm gonna actually put a little relief cut from here to here. Get this plug situated in a better spot. All right, so now I've got a nice relief cut. I can start working the film in. Cool. You can go over this with a bit of post heat if you're nervous about it, but I wouldn't be too worried about it. Cool, so that is the door handle section, super easy. Let's trim it out. Very gently, running our blade on the back edge. If you leave a little excess film, no big deal, don't worry about it. It's behind things, it's okay. If it means not damaging anything. Cool, so that's done. Go over that a little bit. Now let's do the door. Start wherever you want, it's no big deal. Kind of start maybe around this corner up here for me right now. And I'm gonna take my blade and run it on the opposite side. So I'm gonna start swinging it out. You can see I cut around the corner at the top. Start swinging it out and gradually come out. Okay, very gently. We don't wanna cut into the jam on the other side. And don't run with like an inch, 2 inches of your blade sticking out, all right? Because that's gonna cause you to go cut too deep. So I'm just gonna take it right down to the bottom and get rid of the piece. Bring it up to the top, get it out of the way, all right? For here, I'm gonna start on this edge right here. And again, back side, we have to be careful because there are rubber seals here and stuff like that, so we don't wanna cut through them. There we go. Making sure you have a nice sharp blade will ensure that you don't get hung up on the film. And just take your time. We'll go over the edge and smooth it all out right afterwards. Okay, let's get rid of that. I'm gonna come down here, and because I'm right-handed, I'm just gonna come around and go all the way through, all right? So I'm gonna start swinging this out. And then go on the fender side, all right guys? Fender side. Super gentle. All right, now that I'm on the fender side, I don't know how I get the camera down here, but because I tucked the vinyl underneath a little bit, I'm going to go up on the opposite side of that underside of the door. All right, see the blade faces up? See, now that means I'm underneath the door. I'm all the way underneath the door, basically on the other side. That means we have full coverage, guys. You don't need to have an inch of vinyl on the other side. You just need about a quarter of an inch or an eighth of an inch. As long as there's no stretch, it won't fail. And there's no stretch down there. We'll go over all the edges and smooth it all out. Almost ripped my microphone off. All right, so let's just go over the top here, and then we're gonna go around here. For this area right here, because this corner comes to a point, what we need to do is we need to push down on it, all right, like that. I push down on it so that I can push that wrinkle in. Because if you just come across like this, you're gonna form a wrinkle right on that corner, and they don't look good really at all. So anytime you come to like a crease or a point like this, a hard edge, you're gonna want to kind of push down and in, all right, just to get that section down, and then you kind of follow everything with it afterwards. So what I like to do is run my finger a little bit first, just to get it kind of pre-tuck around the edge, and then I'll go with the squeegee 2 or 3 or 4 passes, however many you're comfortable with. But that'll be determined on your comfort level, basically. So we're gonna go over it with the hard edge afterwards, make sure we're nice and tight against that edge. Perfect. I'm gonna cut out the mirror right now while I'm here, so we don't want to cut too deep. I'm just gonna go more on the inside. Easy peasy. That's done. And then let's open the door up so I can open it this way. I thought these door handles were going to be hard to take off. They're actually very easy. So here's a good example of this corner right here, guys. This pointed corner where the vinyl kind of doesn't really stretch over. It's just relaxed. If we run our film like this, see that wrinkle starting to happen? So if we run our finger across like that, that wrinkle's going to start happening. But if we just go, boom, it's gone. All right. You like that, eh? Boom. Boom, boom. All right. How to make a joke. I saw this guy on YouTube, and he likes to say boom. That might be like my new thing too. All right, so we're gonna go over it. You can use a glove, you can use some heat. You don't really have to use any heat. We're not stretching the film, we're just finishing off the edge. And despite what anyone really says, you don't need to post heat because there's no stretch on the film. As long as you did it the right way, you didn't stretch the film, you don't need to post heat it because it won't do anything. The film's not going to shrink or do anything that it's not already doing right now. Cool. Door's done. That was I don't know how long that was. If you like the video of the door, guys, give it a thumbs up. I'm going to get onto the quarter panel, separate video. Stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching.